Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Report. Super pumped, guys. It's here. We made it. Week one. Um, just to go over a few things before we kick off the show. Thank you guys so much for subscribing and commenting and liking the videos. It's been super awesome. I'm really glad that this channel is actually, taking off and actually reaching some people. So we're super excited about that here at the Fantasy Report. Uh, yeah, this episode we're going to break down some GPP plays that I like. Kind of our one of our final videos here. We will be live Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, maybe 10:30. I haven't decided yet. I'll let you guys know. But 10 or 10:30 Sunday morning, we'll be live before we head into week one. Baby, we're here. It's football time. I'm so excited, guys. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so here we're on our optimizer. We'll kind of go game by game scenario, and then we will add some lineups and some stacks that I really like. So maybe run a few optimizations, see what we get coming up a lot ownership wise. So first game is Raiders versus New England. A total of 44. So not an ideal scenario really to play just full on game stacks. But I think this week's slower scoring in general. I just think starting out week one, we're going to be a little bit slower. A lot of adjustments to be made from defense perspective, offensive perspective. So I don't look for these guys to come out firing hot. But I do like Geno, especially in these GPP plays. I think he's an awesome large field contest quarterback. Drake May as well. I think Drake May will be a little over-owned, maybe. Kind of hard to be over-owned on quarterback, but you get the idea. So we will go ahead and clear that out of the area. Okay. QBs. We scroll down and we see here Drake May at 5%, which isn't a lot actually. And these aren't exactly, but they're around about what the ownership will be. Quarterbacks, it's going to be split up no matter how you cut it. But really like the Drake May play this week, 5,500. He's got some weapons there. In New England, I think it's going to be a kind of a shootout type of game. I think this could be a over 50 game really, but as I was saying, I do like Drake May and Geno out of this game. I like Drake May a little bit more than Geno. But if you're needing the salary saver, go ahead and go out on Geno at 3% ownership, 5,200. He's right there with Danny Dimes, Russell Wilson, Flacco, that area, Rodgers. So I like either one of those guys. I don't love them. I just like them. I think it's more of a tournament play, especially, but larger field stuff. 100,000 plus entries, 50,000 plus entries, somewhere in that area, above 50,000. I think you can get weird with the stack combos you can make out of these. I also think their running backs are a little interesting too in that game. So if we jump over to the wide receivers, we will go ahead and see Stephon Diggs. Okay. So this is a 6% ownership at Stephon Diggs on 5,300. We don't know his current status, right? And I think that's a big contributor to why he won't be played is a lot of people don't think he's healthy. A veteran receiver coming off ACL surgery, always not pretty to begin with, but I think they've came a long way with the surgeries. I don't think they're as severe as they used to be. But I do like Stephon Diggs here at 6% ownership, really sticking out to me at 5,300. Jacoby Myers, yes and no. I'm not, I'm just kind of middle of the field with that 7% ownership. I would like to be around that 8% with him. I don't really think I'm going to go overweight on Jacoby. Now, if you swap over to their tight ends, this is where I fell in love. Let's not go to tight ends yet. Let's go ahead and scroll down. Kyle Williams, I have no idea who that is. I don't think he would be in play, but he's drawing a 0.5% ownership. So if you want to throw him into your, three-man stacks with, Diggs, May, and Kyle Williams, that's okay. I like Pop Douglas better at 1% ownership, 4,200. We like him in that slot role, kind of that Jaden Reed type of player. Just a universal, 5-yard slant catch guy. You know what I mean? He's kind of that utilitarian player, you could say. But we do like Demario Douglas at 1% ownership. I like him for these GPP plays, super big brain stuff. But if we jump to our tight end, well, I guess you have Booty too. So Keyshawn Booty, those guys are all cheap-ish. I think they should probably be around more like a 3,500 range. But Booty's at 38. Pop Douglas is at 42. So not terrible. I think you could have a little better luck going elsewhere in your receiver pool. I do like Drake May out of this game, though, just for the rushing upside. Now, if I'm going to run a Drake May stack, I'm probably just going to go down to where's he at? Mr. Hunter Henry. I think Hunter Henry's fine. Smash spot, really, for me. He always starts off the year hot. So I really do like if I can find him. Hunter Henry here at 3,900. He's pulling 3% ownership. I think that's probably where he'll be at. But I do like Hunter Henry here at $3,900. That's a tournament type play. I think he's fine there. I actually like him a lot. You spend up $100 more, you get a Tucker Craft and a better game environment, at least on paper. But pulling 11% ownership is a little high, in my opinion, for a tight end. I want to see what Njoku's pulling 12%. Okay. That's high on Njoku as well. George Kittle at 10. Bowers only at 9. I do like Bowers stacked with Geno. I think that could be a real play if you want to spend up on your tight end. You can go there on your Geno stacks. But, bits and pieces like Drake May, love Hunter Henry. Going to be an absolute smash spot for me this weekend. If we die, we die. That's how I'm playing this weekend. I'm just rolling the dice. I'm going to cut out players that I don't think are going to do well. Some players actually, we're kind of high on coming into week 1, but not so much anymore. And we'll get into that. So I think that does it just about for the pass catchers. Like I said, you had Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. Like Bowers a lot more than like Myers, but you're also going to pay for him at 6,500. I love Hunter Henry. I think that's a smash spot for me this week. Super in love with some Hunter Henry this week. I'm going to go ahead and boost him up there a little bit. Yeah. I want to get overweight. I want to get around maybe 12 to 20% of Hunter Henry. That's how confident I am in that play this week. Maybe a little more, maybe in a 30. I really think it's a good spot. This Vegas secondary has not really upgraded much. I would like to attack it with a Hunter Henry and a Drake May stack, or just a Hunter Henry one-off. I think that could be viable too at 3,900. You're going to have a lot of ownership with your Kyle Pitts. I think he'll be higher than that. Tucker Craft, of course, 11. Njoku at 12. It's insane. Kittle pulling 10. Laporta's only pulling 2%. That's interesting. But yeah, Bowers around 10. He'll probably be around 12, realistically. So if we jump over to our next game, we have Steelers and Jets. Total of 38. Really not much here other than Breece Hall or a Justin Fields. I'm kind of staying away from that Pittsburgh team. If it kills me this week, so be it. But this is just a disgusting game. I don't want any part of, really. I like a Justin Fields as a one-off alone. I really wouldn't stack him with anyone. Just for his rushing upside at 5,400. I think he probably should be around the 52, 51. But 1% ownership, million maker type stuff, I'm okay with it. Justin Fields probably about the only thing I'm going to come away with this game. Maybe some Breece Hall. He's just too expensive for me at 6,400, I believe he is. Let's see here. Breece Hall, yeah, he's at 6,400. 1% ownership. That's interesting for sure. He's one of those guys who can break loose, for a 20-point fantasy game. It's happened before. Would I do it against the Steelers D? No. I think it's could probably be a slugfest. I could be wrong, but I lean more towards staying away from Brees Hall and only getting the Fields in that quarterback spot at 1%. I don't hate it. Nothing really else there at that Steelers game. Just disgusting game in general. If we jump over to the Falcons, the Buccaneers at the Falcons. So this is where things get spicy. Okay, so we have a Bijan Robinson at 9% ownership, highest running back on the slate at 8K flat. I know what's going to happen here. Well, I don't want to say I know, but I have a feeling of what can happen here. I think we don't get this monster. As I'm thinking more on this, I don't think we get the. I think a lot of people are going to be on Drake London. Yes, 16% ownership. I think it's more. He'll probably be around the 18%. I could be wrong there. Don't hold me on it. But 6,500. I'd just rather get up to Mike Evans in that game. Who do I trust more at quarterback right now is Baker Mayfield. I don't trust Michael Penix yet. He hasn't earned that trust for me, so I don't know why everyone's stupidly high on Mr. London. I know he's going to be a target monster, but that's about it. Touchdown equity, Bijan can really steal that away quick. I love Bijan in this spot at 8K. Thinking more about this game, I think he's going to be lesser owned than 9. I think he'd probably be around 8. People are wanting to spin down at McCaffrey to that A-chain Jonathan Taylor level. Chase Brown, the most owned on the slate at 24%. Well, other than McCaffrey, not huge on McCaffrey either, but we'll get to that when we get to San Francisco and Seahawks game. He is now questionable. Shocker. So it's very interesting just to see how this running back slate will play out. But I do love Bijan here. 9% ownership. I think he could be a staple in tournaments. I think he's one of those players who can really break open the slate for sure. With his pass down work. One thing to consider is Tyler Algier stealing touches away. That's one thing to consider in this game. If you think it's a run fest, are they going to pop, Bijan out for a few plays and put in Algier? It's very possible. Could Algier get some of that goal line work? It's possible. So a little bit more heavier on Bijan than I expected, but I don't really want to get to a lot of Drake London. He's just kind of there at 6,500. He's kind of in this no man's land, really. If I want to spend up, I'm just going to go to Mike Evans or a $200 more Tyreek. I like those plays better. The ceiling's definitely there. Ownership, probably not going to be there on those guys. Super heavy. Same way I want to kind of pivot off of the Ibuka hype. Rookie receivers in their first games, don't really like it. No Godwin now for sure. So he's going to be steamed up for sure. He'll be probably the highest owned receiver on the slate. Ibuka, that is. Drake London also going to be one of the highest owned receivers on the slate. 6,500. It's just a mad play to me, really. Don't love it, don't hate it. It's a cash game, a cash game receiver, but we're not over cash games right now. I'm just going to spend up and go to Mike Evans or Tyreek Hill. Don't really care too much. Actually, I want to be kind of heavier on Kyle Pitts. Coming at 4% ownership, $4,300. Just kind of a spend up option there with some of those guys around him. I like Hunter Henry more and I like Kyle Pitts for sure. I like Warren for $100 more, 7% ownership. Not on this whole Daniel Jones hype anymore. But we'll get to that when I get to probably my favorite game of the week, especially in DFS. The most interesting, I think, can really bust open a lot of lineups and slates and really, crack down on some plays. So yeah, that does it for about the Atlanta side. If we jump over to the Bucs side, we have Bucky Irvin. I like that play at 9% ownership. I think he should be a lot higher than that. This is not sponsored by Vitamin Water either. Bucky at 9% ownership. I love it. They're at 9. I think he could be around that realistically, and I think, in this game where a lot of people are gonna be going against Ibuka, you're getting leverage over Ibuka. Maybe you just go with a Mike Evans, Baker, and Bucky Irvin stack. Um, maybe with a Bijan run back instead of a London bring back, just run a single Falcon guy on that comeback. I do prefer the Tampa Bay side a little more than I do Atlanta, but, a game that's a divisional game, and it's probably going to be up and down. So, if these defenses don't hold, like I think they probably won't, I think this game could be higher scoring. One of the main games I'm targeting on the slate, also probably one of the higher owned games on the slate in terms of ownership. So if we jump to my favorite game of the week, which is the same total as a Dolphins versus the Colts. Now, Danny Dimes is back, rocking that QB at $5,100, 6% ownership. It depends come Sunday where he's at, where I'm going to be. I kind of want to be about that with Daniel Jones, if not a little less. Not super high on his passing abilities. The rushing upside's for sure there, with Danny Dimes. But he's going to pop as probably one of the best plays on the slate in terms of optimizers. But I just think he's meh, another meh quarterback. If I'm going to get to somebody, out of this game, this is the way I want to do it. I want to get a Jonathan Taylor at 6,800, around 13% ownership on the running side. I think just the sheer amount of workload we're going to see out of Jonathan Taylor this year is going to be unreal. Super high on him this year. Drafted him in some fantasy leagues. Super happy about that. I do like him at $6,800. 13% ownership. I think he'll probably be around there. But I do like Jonathan Taylor at the absolute smash spot for me this week. Just excited to see what this Colts team can do. A lot of questions are going to be answered here, I think, for a lot of us. A lot of us who, took Tyreek and Jalen Waddle in our drafts, along with Achan. But my favorite play of this slate, of the whole slate, and I'm just going to plant my flag here, and I think this is one of the weeks you do it. I think a lot of talk's been done. I think a lot of bad blood, bad taste has been in people's mouths for the whole offseason with Tyreek Hill. I think at his ownership where he's really going to be, I think he's closer to 6. I don't think he goes up to 8. Maybe I could be wrong, but I'm planting my flag this week with a Tyreek Hill, $6,700. I'm riding. If that's where we're going, so be it. If he kills me, he kills me. And he's killed me so many times last year. It wasn't even funny. But if we're talking someone in this level who has a range of outcomes of 40 points in a game, it's Tyreek Hill, right? It's if we're aiming for those big games, this is a matchup that sets well as a back and forth, a high total. Being the away team, I don't really love it. That's why I like Jonathan Taylor there as a home favorite running back. I'm lesser on Achan than I am Taylor. I love Taylor this week. I'm just meh. I'll be with the field with Achan. But Mr. Tyreek Hill is my flag plant of the week. This is the guy who you want in your lineups. If you're wanting to play completely degenerate and just, slam dunk this play on this slate, he's one of those guys that can do it. And I'm super excited to play him. I say it at $6,700, it's just too cheap for Tyreek. I think he could be what we had 2 years ago. With a Tua healthy, I really like the play. With a Waddle healthy as well, I love both of those guys. If you want to drop down to Waddle, he'll be lesser owned, 6%, 5,700. It's not a bad price on Waddle, but I like those guys in a Tua stack. Tyreek Hill is my absolute lock of this slate. I actually love Tua as well. A little pricier at 5,800. But if we think Tyreek's going off, we want to assume Tua's going off with him. And I want to have all I can of those two singles and doubles with Waddle and Tyreek. This is something I've kind of been, contemplating this whole week, really in single entry stuff is how do I get, different, but not so different that we're absolutely going to be shot. Um, and I think the one way to do it is just to target, the games that you guys think are going to be there. Your top 3 games, grab 3 quarterbacks from there and just rock. I think some of that stuff is, the best way to play these slates, especially when a bunch of unknowns are coming in this season. So I'm really excited to play Tua and Tyreek. Tua's drawing absolutely zero ownership. Not really, but he's gonna be super low owned. I think at 2%. I love this play. Tua is one of those guys who can actually break a slate too. If Tyreek's breaking, chances are Tua's coming with him. So I want to get exposure to that as well. Heavy exposure to Tua and Tyreek. The Miami Dolphins this week are my stand. This is where I'm going to live and die this week. So if you guys don't see me next week, you'll know what happened. Tyreek and Tua absolutely crushed in my weekend. So that does it for the Dolphins side. If we jump to some receivers and tight ends of this game, we have Jalen Waddle, as I said. Where's Josh? I'm looking for Josh Downs. Michael Pittman, 2% ownership, awesome GPP play. If you love this game as much as I do, maybe you want to get some, leverage off of that Colts team, and you say no Jonathan Taylor and just run a skinny Daniel Jones stack with a Pittman or a Downs. Perfectly fine with it. One of my favorite players, I really want to get some heavy exposure to in this tight end slot is sorry, I had a brain fart there. Mr. Tyler Warren for the Colts. 7% ownership, rookie tight end. Excited to see what he can do. Definitely going to be involved in this offense. Maybe Danny Dimes is, dink and dunking, little 5 and 10 yard plays here and there with a lot of Tyler Warren and a lot of Jonathan Taylor running behind that. So don't mind that play either. My favorite pass catcher out of the 3, I'm going to lean towards Pittman just for GPP purposes. Ownership wise, just playing the ownership game. Of course, Downs isn't going to be heavily owned either, I don't think. So you don't really have to worry about too much on those 2 guys. Warren's going to be a little heavier owned as a tight end, but not a lot of tight ends are around the league for that. So Josh Downs 5%. I like Pittman better than Josh Downs, but I'm fine with either or. Pittman's a safer target hog, I guess you could say, but Josh Downs can give me those explosive plays. Adonai Mitchell, honorable mention there. Absolute super punts. These are your Millie Maker type punts. If you want to make those plays, that's fine. I'm looking for Adonai Mitchell. Adonai Mitchell. However you guys say it, put it down in the comments. Let me know. Am I saying this wrong? Am I absolutely butchering his name? Probably. Yeah, so Adonai Mitchell, not pulling any ownership, and I don't think he would. But he's definitely one of those plays. If you like this game as much as I do, he's definitely could be involved here. Super GPP stuff. I think you want to play him. I think, yeah, I just think he's a super good punt at $3,400. High upside, a guy that can catch an 80-yard touchdown. So many plays to him last year were missed. Absolutely, it angered me to oblivion last year. I kept playing him with Anthony Richardson, and he would just miss Adonai Mitchell by like 10 yards, and it was absolutely crushing because Adonai Mitchell is outrunning everyone on the field. So I like playing the athletes on the field, and Adonai Mitchell is one of those freak speed athletes along with Tyreek Hill, and I love them both. So that does it for that game. Like I said, I forgot to mention, just another mad play I'll be around. Man, I'll probably be underweight to the field is Devon Achane because I think this game leads more to a passing approach, but he also can be involved in that. So don't hate him. He's just a mad play. I'll probably get around 20%. That's 18 to 20. That's where I want to be with him. But I'll definitely have him in with my Tua stacks. not really one-offs, I don't think. I think Tua comes along with Achane, um, but that's neither here or there. So Devon Achane, just a good play. It's so-so at 20% ownership. Definitely have some exposure there. Um, Now, if we lead into our Cardinals and Saints game here, 43-point total. Everyone's going to be on it. Not super excited for that. For the main purpose of, you know, everyone's going to be on it. The Rattler is not it, and he's not it, guys. I don't think he has. I don't think they have enough firepower to really push this Cardinals team, who's mediocre at best. I want to see what Kyler's at. 4%, guy with rushing ability. Yes, he absolutely stunned me week 1 last year. I had him in that Bills game, and he was absolutely going off in the first half and didn't do nothing in the second. It's kind of the story of my life with Kyler whenever I play him. So he's a math play for me, 4%. He's a little pricey for my taste at 6,400. But a rushing quarterback at that, so you're paying that rushing tax. But he's just a mad play for me. The Rattlesnake is a definite no. Not playing the Rattlesnake here at 4,800, 1% ownership. So we jump to the receivers of this game. Olave is fine, but don't really love it. Who else do we think here? Cardinal side, Marv, he's pulling 10% ownership, 5,500. I think that's kind of cheap for him. He could be a pretty good play here, especially for GPP stuff. Don't mind Marvin Henderson. We'll hit him with a like, bump him up a little bit. Marv's okay at 55. I think a lot of people are going to McBride, Michael Wilson at 0.5 ownership. Half ownership, definitely in play for your GPPs, big brain stuff. If you guys want to get super weird, pull off of Marv, just run a single Michael Wilson. That's happened before. At 4,200, he doesn't have to do a lot, guys. A touchdown gets us there with him. But at tight end, McBride, definitely going to see his targets, probably 10 this game with 8 catches. I see that happening very frequently this year. 6,200, just kind of your pay up option. I think you have better options, going down below, spending less and getting some of those higher end running backs, which I will be doing a lot of. So he's just a mad play for me. Super good cash play, but nothing crazy. Just kind of want to get just even with the field, probably at 8%. Now, this is where things get interesting with this game. So we have James Conner here at 17% ownership, guys. I think this is a trap spot. At 17% ownership, guys, 6,100. He's just okay play. Kamara, I really like Kamara this week. I know he's going to be 11% ownership, kind of higher owned. I just love him for the the passing down work, especially those receptions on DK. 6,300, too cheap for Kamara. Kamara is a smash this week. I really like him this week. I don't like James Conner as much. I think he's going to be super high owned, but he's a mad play. I would just pivot off of him and say, go to a Kamara. I like Kamara better in this spot. I think they're going to be trailing, so he's going to be involved in the game script. I like Kamara better than I like James Conner. Kamara is going to be one of my higher owned running backs of the week. But yeah, that does it for that game. Now, our game here, New York at the Commandos, man. Now, this is a 45.5-point total. I think it's a 6-point spread. New York Giants. The New York Giants are back, baby. And I want to get some pieces of this game for sure. As we mentioned, I do like Jaden Daniels, but 14% ownership. I think he's going to be superly high owned. I think you can get a little bit better value on the Giants side of this game. But if you want to get some, odds and ends of this game, I really think, Ertz is in position there. Very good. He's a good play. Jaden Daniels, not so much. Um, Now Terry is interesting. I think his ownership might be lower than expected at 7%. He could be in a smash spot there at 6,200. But I do think this New York Giants defense is better than people are expecting. Their front five is insane. Scary Terry, fine GPP play for me, 6,200. I know he didn't get much training camp in at all, but he's back. Jaden loves him. Looking for the stretch to field, 6,200. That's a fine price for me. McLaurin is a good play at 7% ownership. If he stays around there, which I think he may, I really like him there. So Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz, all I really want from that game. Now, if we jump to the Giants side, I do like Tyrone Tracy, as I mentioned before. I'm still high on Mr. Tyrone Tracy at your 5,600 at 6% ownership. I love that play. Um, I think this Giants team has a chance to be a lot better under Russ Wilson. Maybe you think he kind of controls this game, more ground and pound approach. I like Tracy here. Also like the spread at 6 points. Go ahead and give me that. I think New York covers this. I think it's a field goal game. Tyrone Tracy, he's a fine GPP play. I love him. 5,600. I think it's a super good play. And you're pulling no ownership really for your running back there. So really like that play. If we jump over to wide receiver, bigger stand I'm going to make this week since I like, you know, since I like Tyron Tracy more, I am a little bit less inclined to go ahead and click on Malik Neighbors. 14% ownership, 7K. He's a little rich for my blood. I'll go up to an Amon Ra before I will him. So I really not loving Malik Neighbors this week. He's okay. He's just a mad play for me again. But if we jump down to Wandale Robinson, he's interesting at 4,500, 1% ownership. He's one of those players that plays a slot. Could see a lot of targets. They love Wandale Robinson there in New York, so I like that play as well. I like him better than I like Malik Neighbors, to be honest with you. And that sounds disgusting to say because Malik Neighbors is probably going to burn me here, but I do like Wandale a little bit more in this New York at Washington game. Now, if we scroll down and we go to Darius Slayton, now this is just where things get absolutely nasty. You want to go 4K for a Darius big time play Slay? You go to Darius Slayton here, baby. The New York Giants, he's owning 5.5% ownership, which is insane. Definitely a GPP play. Don't be putting him in your cash lineups, but he's a fun play. At half a point of ownership, 4K. I like big play Slay here. Go ahead and boost on Darius Slayton up. I think he probably gets a touchdown. I like his anytime touchdown prop, whatever it is. I don't even know what it is. Probably 6-1. I like it. Give me Darius big play Slay and Wandale um, over Malik Neighbors. All right, so jumping into our next game, we have Panthers versus Jaguars. We'll go ahead and run through this quick. I really do like Chuba Hubbard in there at 6K, 5% ownership, fine GPP play. Especially if you think you want to get off some of these receivers in this game, which I could advise someone to do. Putting a tournament brain hat on here, probably going to bite me in the butt. So I like Brian Thomas, but I don't love Brian Thomas. I think he's going to be second highest owned under Abuka at 20% ownership, 6,800. I don't really love it. So yeah, that's where I'm at on that. If you go down to Tedero McMillions, he should be what, 55, 52. He'll be super high owned. I just don't like these rookies' first game in the NFL playing them at 5,200. Maybe I'm wrong here. Got him in some fantasy leagues. Tedero McMillian, not super high on. If I'm going to go for a pass catcher on the Panthers side of the ball, I'm just going to go down to Xavier Legette or where's he at? Where's Renfro? Renfro is interesting. Hunter Renfro, quarter ownership, $3,200. Stone men. Go ahead and throw Go ahead and say I like Hunter Renfrow there. Maybe you think he gets a touchdown this game. Who knows? I've seen crazier things happen. Hunter Renfrow and Xavier Legette. I'm going to stay away from Tedero McMillian, and I'm going to stay away from Brian Thomas Jr. I know this is probably dumb, but this is tournaments, and this is how we're going to play this week. We're going to pivot off of these higher ownership spots, and if we die, we die. That's how I'm rocking this week, and I think that's a good approach. So, definitely not big on Brian Thomas. I know I mentioned him as probably my favorite plays earlier in the week, but he's been steamed up so much, man. The ownership's just getting outrageous on Brian Thomas. He's a good player, in a good spot, but 20% ownership, I think I can get elsewhere. I think I can get about that with a Mike Evans or a T. Higgins play at less ownership, or a Terry McLaurin. So, and cheaper price as well. So I want to pivot down away from Brian Thomas Jr. And yeah, I know I said Tank Bigsby's live. The Bigsby ball is live there at where's he at? Tank Bigsby. There he is. Okay, 4,600, 1% ownership. Fine GPP play. I think he could rush for a touchdown. They like him in that goal line. So Tank Bigsby is in play for me there in the Jaguars Carolina game. Does that about do us for that game? I think it does. Quarterbacks. Yeah, so things are a little pricey for Bryce Young, but 3% ownership. Don't hate it. You could run a Bryce Young, Chuba, and a Renfrow stack if you really wanted to. Maybe you think Bryce Young has a pretty good game here, which he may. I do like that play. I don't hate it. I just like it. So we'll scroll down to where's he at? T-Law at 15% ownership. This guy's a bust. I know everybody's hyped for the Liam Cohen effect, but how long is that going to take to initiate? Is everyone bought in? I still have questions around this Jaguars team, especially that defense. But the offense here with Brian Thomas and Trevor Lawrence going to be super high owned this week. Brenton Strange will be as well. So I'm just kind of steering clear mainly from this game. I don't have any pieces I love anymore. I did love Thielen. I thought he was the sneakiest play he could have been, but it was a little early, so he got traded to the Vikings. But yeah, so not as high on this game as I was before, mainly because Thielen's out. I know I should be liking Lawrence and Brian Thomas a little more, but I think Lawrence is a bum. I don't think he's that good. So I'm going to plant my flag there and say the Liam Cohen effect is not taking effect this weekend. You might get away with a Tank Bigsby touchdown, but I don't think T-Law goes enough to give you a tournament winning score. 5,300, he's cheap. That's probably why he's 15%, but I want to steer clear of that high ownership in the QB slot. So yeah, we'll go ahead and jump over to the Bengals versus the Browns, another game I love. Quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, 8%. He's fine. I don't hate it and I don't love it. I don't think this game's going to be as high scoring as I thought before. I still like Flacco at 4,900. Definitely good punt play. I think Flacco could get it done with Njoku or Tillman or Judy. I think Judy's still in a good spot. I think Judy's going to be super underowned. I think everybody's, scared of Judy a little bit. Maybe last year was a fluke, but we've seen his ceiling performances with Jameis Winston. We plug in Joe Flacco in that position. I still like Jerry Judy. He's one of my smash spots this week too. I'm going to be a little over the weight on the field they have him at 8%. I think he should probably be around more 15, but that's probably where I want to be about with Jerry Judy. So Jerry Judy taken away from the Bengals side. Tillman's fine. He's a little pricey, but has that upside as well at 4,400. He should be around that 38, in my opinion, but at 1% ownership. Super big GPP play. You can go ahead and like it. Njoku is probably going to be steamed up more than I like at the tight end spot, around that 12% range. He's a little expensive too, at 4,700. So I think we got better spots available. Njoku was kind of my, go-to tight end until ownerships really came out and started, directing me in another area. I think he's going to be high owned this week just because of the game environment. I think a lot of people are going to be in this game, maybe more than expected, probably less than the Bucks and Falcons game. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk receivers on this Bengals team. Jamar Chase, love him here. 17% ownership. I think he might be a must-have. Maybe I'm wrong. I love him more than Puka. I love him more than Nico. Around that price range. So I really do like Jamar Chase this week. So does everyone else. So it's kind of a I want to be about even with the field. I don't absolutely want to smash it because I do like to get this leverage off of him and go to a T Higgins at 11% ownership. I think you can just pivot off of that and go directly to T. Running back wise, Chase Brown's going high owned. I'm going to steer clear. Maybe it's going to kill me. Maybe it won't. I think this game could be a little bit more harder to run the ball in. I think they're going to be forced to throw. I think Cleveland's, run defense is one of the best in the league. But still lots to be said about this kid from Cincinnati. Chase Brown had a good year last year. He's projected for 19 fantasy points, $6,600, 24%. He's going to be too high on for me. Not an absolute smash spot for me. So he's just meh, whatever. I really get to a Chase or a Higgins or a Burrow stack. So moving on from that game, we got Tennessee versus the Denver Broncos. 42.5% total. One player I love, still love him. Where's he at? Mr. Calvin Ridley at 5K. I think it's too cheap for Calvin Ridley. Go ahead and adore him. I think the connections there with Cam Ward. I think we're going to have an upgraded offense here with Cam Ward. He expands the playbook a little more than Will Levis. Ridley got peppered with targets last year. I think the same thing's going to happen this year. I think he gets a touchdown this week too. I like his touchdown props. Calvin Ridley, a tougher game here going to Denver. Rookie quarterbacks don't really fare out well, especially in a harsh environment like that. But I don't really care. I'll be honest. I want to plant my flag with a Calvin Ridley, and I'll be, higher ownership than 8% for sure. Probably around 20. Really like Calvin Ridley this week. That's really about it. Cam Ward's okay. I think he's GPP stuff only. 5K, pulling no ownership either. I think it's interesting for his rushing upside, and we don't know what's going to happen here. Maybe he's running for his life all over this, Denver defense. So at 5K, I don't really hate it, but yeah, it's just an okay play for me. I don't hate it, so I like him because I can stack Calvin Ridley with him. So that's who I like from that game. I did not mean to do that. Sorry. I don't love him. I just like him. Let's jump over to Bo Nix and this Denver side of the ball. Bo Nix is interesting, 4% ownership. He's one of those guys that can definitely get you there in a tournament. I really like him this week too. At 6,300, you're paying up, but you're also getting that rushing ability still with Bo Nix. I don't mind that play either. I like Bo Nix. I also like, for ownership purposes, I know everyone's going to go to Cortland Sutton with those stacks, but I think we've seen it last year. Mims took that step up in that field stretcher role, and at 4,500, I can't pass it up. I love Marvin Mims this week too, 2% ownership, especially for our Millie Maker type stuff. I think he could be an interesting play there at 12% ownership. 2% ownership. $4,500. So really nothing else excites me in that game. You could make a case for a Tony Pollard role, but 5,700, 8% ownership. I'm just kind of steering clear of that, really. J.K. Dobbins, you could make me that argument too at 5,500, 1% in a good spot. Maybe you think he punches 2 in and for your millie. He done it last year, so it's definitely possible. Week 1, just like I said, don't hate it, or I don't really love it either. So that's going to do us for that game. 3 games left in the Actually, this is the late slate. San Francisco taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Total 43.5. I think Christian McCaffrey will play. I think the Q tag's going to frighten a lot of people. Well, maybe not. I don't think people are going to be frightened. 28% ownership. One of my flag stands is I'm going to go up and pay down to a Bucky Irving or go up to a Jahmyr Gibbs. I think we can see similar roles there, especially with Jahmyr Gibbs in a better game environment, possibly higher scoring. So I like Jahmyr Gibbs over McCaffrey, and I like Bucky Irving over McCaffrey. So he's just kind of a meh play for me. I know he was kind of one of my favorites coming in, but he's been steamed up too much for my liking for these tournaments. Of course, his upside is there, but I just want to get leverage off the field. So I'm going to steer clear mostly of McCaffrey. I'll have some, won't be as high on him as it was before. Quarterbacks, we got Sam Darnold. He's cheap at 5,300. I think those JSN stacks are interesting. 1% ownership, Millie Maker type stuff. I think Sam Darnold's interesting. Playing against his former team there in San Francisco, I think he could have a little revenge spot. Maybe we'll spin that narrative and we'll go with a JSN stack. I don't mind Sam Darnold here against San Francisco at 5,300, cheap, and I think he could get it done. Wide receiver JSN at 5,800. I think he's going to be a good spot too at 7% ownership. Yeah, I like that play. I like JSN with a Sam Darnold stack. I'm not on Kenny Walker, so if that's what you guys were here for, I'm not. 5,900, 5% ownership. I'll just be away, him and Charbonnet both. So we'll jump over to quarterbacks. Now, what's interesting to me is what is the field going to do with Brock Purdy? 3%, 6,200. I think he could be in a good position here, especially if I'm not playing McCaffrey. I kind of want to lean on Brock Purdy stacks, maybe with a Jawan Johnson. Who knows? Ricky Pearsall will probably be high owned. Really like Brock Purdy here too. I think this is a pretty good divisional game. A little back and forth action we could get here. Brock Purdy, like him in that spot. Now, his tight ends are easy, so you go with a George Kittle at 10% ownership. I think he's probably one of the better tight end plays on the slate. I really like Kittle this week. Pearsall's fine. I think he'll be steamed up still some. Maybe not as much as we were hoping for. I was thinking he was a good fade spot at 4,500. 12% ownership. I still think he's a good fade there. 45. I'm not in love with it. I want to go up to a Jawan Jennings. I don't know why I keep saying Jawan Johnson. Jawan Jennings, 3% ownership. That's a smash spot for me. 4,900. He has the potential for a 30-point game. We've seen it before. Really like Jawan Jennings in the spot at 4,900, 3% ownership. I'll go him over Pearsall all day. I'll just spend up. I will spend up on that $300 or $400, come off $400 more and get a Jawan Jennings. So I like that play. He's back in. He'll be in to play. So leverage off McCaffrey ownership. Go and give me the Brock Purdy with the Jawan Jennings stacks all day, along with Kittle as well. Nothing really else to say about that game. Green Bay total 47. The Lions taking on the Packers. I think what's really interesting here, I think it's going to be a low game, and I want to get some exposure here. I like Josh Jacobs. I think he's in a pretty good spot, and I really like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Jahmyr Gibbs could be the running back one on this slate. I want to smash him into the lineups, not actually smash him. But you guys know what I meant. 6% ownership. I really like Jahmyr Gibbs. He's got the potential for a 35-point game. We've seen it in a negative game script, perhaps. We think that this line teams are forced to throw the ball. So we'll definitely be heavy on Jahmyr Gibbs this week. I don't hear a lot of buzz about him, maybe because everyone's scared of the DMont workload, touchdown equity. Okay. But we are playing a game of DK here, and receptions count as 1 point. So, 4 receptions gets you 4 points. So it's almost a touchdown there. So really like Jahmyr Gibbs this week, along with Jared Goff. I think he's an okay play at 1% ownership. I don't hate it. Um, I really like Amon-Ra at 11% ownership. I think that's too cheap on him. I think they're playing from behind. I like Amon-Ra here. J-Mo's fine as well at 5,500, 3% ownership. That's okay with me. I really like that play actually. 3% ownership J-Mo. Give me that big play potential. Yes, sir. Laporta, he's another good play at 2% ownership. 5K. They're kind of all priced in this, expensive stud category. Laporta, St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs. But I think Laporta is probably one of the sneakier plays at 2% ownership with a Jared Goff stack, or Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff, and Laporta. I think he's in a pretty good spot here at 5K. Hopefully they'll be down and be passing the ball, and I think Laporta, has potential for a 20-point game too. So I do like Laporta. Now, if we flip, I don't think there's anything else really. Tesla, I think. I don't know how much he is. Not big on rookie receivers, week one. But yeah, I don't see Tesla. I'm not interested there anyway, so I don't care. Green Bay side. I really like this Josh Jacobs spot at 6,700, 14% ownership. I'm okay with that. I like to get about there with the field, maybe a little heavier. I like his play at 6,700. I think he's one of those better spin down options if you're wanting to spin down. The receiving core staying away, and tight end I'm kind of going to be staying away too from this. So I really just want to get exposure to that Lions offense and the Green Bay running back room. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to be. No Jordan Love. I won't have any of him. 2% ownership. Yeah. 6,100. I mean, it's not bad. It's definitely a tournament play, but I don't love it. Not a big fan of Jordan Love. Really let me down a lot. So I'm not willing to play him this week. Our last game here is another disgusting game at 43-point total. You have the LA Rams taking on the Houston Texans. Not much here either, really, guys. Other than one sneaky play that I really like. I don't like Puka Nacua, and he's not the sneaky play. And it's not so much sneaky, but I think he's kind of in this price range of this mid-tier receiver, wide receiver 2 territory. At 6% ownership, Devontae Adams. I think he's a fine tournament play. 6,100. Yeah, I really like him on the Rams side. And if we jump over to the Houston side, running back wise, we have Dameon Pierce or Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's fine, 0.6% ownership at $5,200. I'm okay with it. I'll be getting some exposure there for sure. I like Nick Chubb, and I do like Dameon Pierce. I think they're going to be running the ball. I don't know how well they're going to be running the ball, but Dameon Pierce is going to have no ownership. So I think he's a mega mind play if you think he gets in the end zone at 4,700. He's kind of in that range with Tank Bigsby, but hey, he has potential for a touchdown, to pop one in. So no ownership there. I like Dameon Pierce, and I do like Nick Chubb. So I don't even know who Woody Marks is. I guess he's the second string running back, I would assume, but I like Pierce over Woody Marks. Don't even know who Woody Marks is. So again, give me exposure to Chubb and Pierce. And LA side, I want Devontae. No real interest in Stafford and the whole back situation. 5,900, 1% ownership. Maybe you think it's a single stack. You could possibly, but I don't really like target this Texas defense. It's going to be nasty this year. So they're my favorite defense on this slate. With that being said, that goes over all the games. Now, if we go to our defenses, let's see. Broncos are going to be the highest at 7%. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not spending up ever really at defense. So I'll give you two of my favorite defenses and maybe two mediocre defenses. Okay. So first one we have which I don't mind at all, is a Texans defense at 5%. I'm okay with that. I think they're good enough for a 5% ownership. I really like the Texans D, and also really like the Stone Men Giants D. Well, almost a Stone Men at 7% ownership. I really like that defense too against Washington. So I like those two defenses the best. Second tier is Dolphins. I really like the Dolphins defense. I think that front five is actually really good. Um, yeah, I like them against Daniel Jones too. So I'm not as confident on Daniel Jones, guys. I'm not this Daniel Jones truther. I don't really think he's all that. Could he win the Millie? He's done it twice last year, so it's definitely possible. Daniel Jones has been in there. So I like the Dolphins defense, and I guess you could say I really don't mind this Cardinal defense either against the Saints. So $3,500 Cardinal. I'd rather just get to the Texans, Giants, and Dolphins. Um, so yeah, I'm really interested in those plays. Um, that's really about it. You could say the Jets too. They're okay. Really, it's just a punt play on defense. It don't really matter what you do. That's why I don't like spending up. It's all random, 98% of the time. So I'll just punt with those guys there. So let's go and run some lineups, and then we will jump into some builds. Actually, we're not going to jump into builds this week. All right, so we got a lot of Chase Brown there, which I didn't want. Not super high on him this week. Going to be one of the higher owned running backs, probably the highest on the slate. Really like this. That's crazy exposure. I think it was only 30 some lineup. So yeah, 36 lineups, but I got a lot to Tyreek and Tua stacks, which I'm okay with. 86% Jonathan Taylor. Yep, this is about where I want to be. I want to be less than that on McCaffrey for sure. Less on that. These are small sample size, but you guys kind of get the gist here. I don't want to be this high on McMillian either. I'll probably only get to like 10% McMillian, if that. Maybe like 8, to be honest. Kind of one of the main fades for me this week. Maybe that game as a whole, really. But yeah, we can see Tucker Craft. Let's see who our high zone receivers are. Tyreek and Calvin T. Mekabuka. I'm not interested in Ibuka either. He's gonna be too high owned for me. Drake London, same thing. So they're giving me kind of these chalk plays. We'll work some kinks out on it, but I think that's all we're gonna do for today. So if you guys wouldn't mind, go ahead and leaving a like, comment, subscribe to the Fantasy Report. I love you all, guys. Thank you for showing up. Hopefully, you guys will join me Sunday at 10 or 10:30. We'll be going over some live stuff and answering any questions in the chat. If you guys want to hop on the show, go ahead and let me know, and I'll bring you guys on if you guys want to chat live Sunday. So yeah, I kind of want to do the Sunday kickoff with everyone. So super looking forward to that, guys. Sunday, be ready for some more content. We should have a showdown for Sunday Night Football. Super excited for that Ravens Bills game. That's going to be an absolute monster. With that being said, that's going to do the video. So we'll see you guys on the next one. So peace out.